All right, in this tutorial, I want to show you how to create some lists using HTML. So I'm in CodePen, and I'm going to go over here to create, and I'm currently logged in, so I'm going to say new pen, and let's go ahead and call this lists. Let's hit the little edit button. We'll say lists, and we'll save. All right, and before I do anything else, I'll go ahead so I don't forget, and I'm going to add it to my collection of practice lessons. And the other thing I want to do is I'm going to pull my CSS and JavaScript down so that I have more room for my HTML on the left. If you want to use a different view, if yours is showing up differently and you want yours to look like mine, you can click on Change View, and you can choose one of these down here. I'm using the one on the left, like this. Yours might end up looking more like that, but I'm going to stick with this. Okay. And so first thing I want to do is jump over here to HTML, and I just want to show you how you can write a simple list. And if you remember from previous CodePens, you don't have to worry in this case about writing, like the HTML document tags and the doc type and the head and the title, because right now what we're typing inside of here would just show up in the body. If we were to come down here and export, it would put all of those appropriately necessary required tags inside your document for you when you go to download it. So we can just focus on the kind of HTML that we need to learn right now. Let's go here, and the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a comment, and I'm going to do open angle bracket or left angle bracket exclamation. It's also referred to in programming languages as a bang, B-A-N-G. So if I say bang, then I'm talking about an exclamation mark, and then 2 dashes, and then you see that it grays out, and that starts the comment. And so I'll put a space bar, and then if you want to go ahead and end your comment, you can do dash dash and then right angle bracket, and then you can just go here, and in between you can type something. So I'm going to type this lesson shows shows how to write lists, or something like that. How to write lists. Okay. And then the next thing that I can do, and there's another thing I can show you too. Let's just go down here and let's just say unordered list. Okay. And I'm going to put this in a comment. I can highlight this, and remember I showed you before, you can come down here and you can look at your shortcuts. And there is a line comment shortcut, and it's because I'm on a Mac, all this stuff is going to be based off of my command key. On Windows, it's going to be whatever the key is. It's going to be different, probably your control key, right? Right here, it's command /. And so if I come back over here, I'll highlight unordered list, and I'll do command and hold down the / key. And that's a shortcut for putting something inside of a comment mark. I'll just copy this, and I'm going to do some lines down here, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm just going to get rid of the un part, and we'll have a section that's going to be for unordered lists and one that is for ordered lists. And if you want to make yourself any additional notes, something else that you could do is you could make another little note here that says these are non-sequential or something like that. The order doesn't matter. All right, you could even put something like they get bullets for default browser styles. Okay, let's copy this, and we'll come down here. We'll put that here, and we'll say these are sequential, and they get numbers for default browser style. Okay, all right. So I'm going to come down here now, and I'm going to create an unordered list. And if you remember from the lecture, there were some examples of how you can write that. So let's first of all go ahead and do our open angle bracket. We'll do a UL. That's really intuitive, unordered UL. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and close it so I don't forget to close it, and then that's the way I typically like to do things. So I'll start typing that / and then I can commit to closing it. And now I can come down here and I can start typing my list items. All right, so that's the way that a list works, is that you've got, first of all, you have the tags that declare the type of list that you're going to use, and then inside of those tags are nested the list items. And so a list item, as you can imagine, is LI for the tag. All right, so we'll do a couple of closed list or a few closed list items, and we'll just say list item 1. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to come down here and just paste several of them, and I can just easily change these, and you can see how they work. All right. Really straightforward stuff. There's nothing else that you need to properly make something that's an unordered list. It's really that simple. And I could copy this and just simply, let me show you something. I could copy this and just simply come down here and say, all right, to make this an ordered list, I'll just change this to OL like this, all right, and then automatically fixed it for me. And then you see how it shows up on the right side in the browser view. Now, I do want to show you something else though. Let's say that we get rid of the OL tags, and look what happens over here in the right. It doesn't know what to do, and so it starts doing something weird where it still puts bullets on these list items because it doesn't know if it's ordered or unordered, but also this is not proper syntax. Just because it shows up over here in the browser sort of correctly, but not really quite correctly, it isn't correct. Like you can't just have a list item floating somewhere outside of an OL tag or a UL tag. That's not valid markup at all. So let's just say though that if you did want to just write your list items really quickly like this, you could also highlight them. And if you remember before, we have a shortcut where we can wrap tags around that. We can do Command Shift A, or on Windows it'll be a different key command. And I could type OL and it's going to wrap those OL tags around it, and now it turns it back into an ordered list. Okay, and so that's how you can write UL and an OL. Now there is one other type of list, and it's called a definition list. And so let's just copy this, and I'll come down here and I will say definition. And these are not used very often. It's really less common that people use these, but they do have semantic meaning. They're a little bit more complicated than using ULs and OLs. But to do a definition list, you would start with a DL, okay? And inside of the definition list, right, we need to end that DL, okay? And there are going to be two things that go with the definition list for each definition item, right? And the way that that works is you would have your definition term and your definition data. So you have a DT and a DD. So we'll do DT, and then we'll do an ending DT. And then the next thing that you would have is DD, like this, okay, and ending DD. And that is going to be for every single one of the definitions that you put in this definition list. You're going to have two components, DT and DD. So the first is definition term, so we could say basketball. I'm just making something up. Let's try that. All right, so we've got basketball, and then in the DD section, we can put data. This is also referred to as hoops or something like that. Hoops. Okay, and so you'll notice that there is a default browser styling that is occurring. You see that basketball is not indented, but then the definition data, it does indent it. And so it does have semantic meaning, and it's trying to show you kind of the way that that works, you know, sort of the most logical that it can without you actually styling it in the browser window over here. And so if we come down here and we do another DT, as I said, this is not as commonly used, but it is still useful if you need it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my full structure in there. And then if we wanted to do, I'm going to copy this and we'll just have 3 definitions in here. And to be really succinct, I'll separate them with spaces so that it's easier to see what's happening. Okay, and so the second definition term, we could do something like soccer. All right, and let's just be succinct, and I'll capitalize basketball too. So for soccer, we can say also called football in some other countries or Latin language speaking countries. Something, right? I could put something else, right? This is not the point of this tutorial. You know, down here we could do like football. Say American sport that is a weird combo of soccer and rugby or something like that. I don't know. No editorial on my part, right? Anyway, so here we've got 3 different types of lists. When you're done with this, don't forget to save your work, even though it does it every 30 seconds.